Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending today's conference. My name is Sergey Stimenko, and I will host today's conference together with newly appointed CFO of the company, Vladimir Varushkin, and Olga Alexandrova, IFRS reporting manager. I'm happy to welcome everyone. We'll discuss results of first 6 months of the year. I will answer your question at the end of the presentation. Please submit them via chat at the left bottom corner of the screen. And before we'll get to the discussion of actual figures, please pay attention to our usual disclaimer, and in particular, pay attention to the meaning of forward-looking statements. Words such as may, might, seek, expect, estimates, believes, etc. As usually, we will not only discuss the actual figures today, but during the Q&A session and during our discussion, we will touch upon the things which we believe will happen in the future. Auriant Mining is a junior gold producer operating 4 gold assets at a different stage of development. All these assets are located in Russia. Our flagship producing mine is located in Teva region, and this is called Tardan. Many of you have already heard this name before. Tardan was successfully upgraded to the CIL operations starting from November last year. We also have very promising deposit having 26 tons of gold resources, both under JORC and national standards, called Karabildir. This is also located in Teva, approximately 120 kilometers far from operational Tardan mine. And Karabildir has very substantial upside potential. Together with Auriant Creek, that's a newly acquired license which we have acquired last year. Which is an adjacent to Karabildir license and is located on the continuing fault structure hosting gold deposits at Karabildir, and which we believe can give us even more upside potential for KB in the future. Number 3 is Salkakon mine, Salkakon deposit in the Baikalia, having 15 tons of gold under national standards, some of them with arsenic, and including this 15 tons of gold includes 8 ton of gold processable on CIL plant, and total upside potential is 60 tons of potential resources. And number 4 is Uzhunzhu, which is a greenfield project located at Khakassia, adjacent to another existing mine. Our production in the first half of 2020 at Tardan amounted to 521 kilos of gold, which is 55 tons of anticipated gold production over the year. We keep our forecast unchanged, 947 kilos of hard rock gold at Tardan, might be a little bit more than this. And if you will extrapolate average production from February to June, to the end of the year, you might look for higher figures, but you need to keep in mind allowances for heavy maintenance, which must be done at the plant. We were hoping for producing about 40 kilos of gold in Salkakon alluvial gold this year. However, our subcontractor started later than usual. In June and July, there was no production. Production started late August, so now we are aiming for 20 kilos of gold maximum. Adding up these two together, we hope that we will finish the year with approximately 970 kilos of gold in production. On this slide, you can see the breakdown of monthly breakdown of production and sales in dollar terms. Since November 2019, the Auriant is operating newly built CIL plant on Tardan mine. Heap leach operations are cancelled by the end of December. We cancelled crushing in October, and we cancelled supplying solutions to the heap by the end of December. So no gold is produced at heap leach any longer. So the whole production in 2020 is production on the newly built CIL plant. Over ramp-up period and starting at the end of December, we reached projected throughput per working hour, which is more than 50 tons per working hour, and we achieved more than we have projected as a recovery rate. In first half, it was 92, more than 92%. In January, in December 2019 and in January 2020, we were feeding the newly built plant with high-grade ore, which resulted in the peak in production in that period and peak in sales in January. Since February, the plant is fed with regular ore, and average monthly production is fluctuating between 75 to 85 kilos of gold on average, being 80 kilos per month on average. Volume of ore processed through the newly built CIL plant amounted to 196,000 tons of ore, which proves projected capacity of 400 tons per annum. And average grade we supplied for the processing was 2.87 grams a ton. Total amount of gold we supplied for processing was 561, and production out of this 561 recovery amounted to 521 kilos of gold. So gold production, hard rock gold production at Tardan increased from 227 kilos last year in the first half up to 521 in first half of 2020, increased by 29%. Gold sales volumes increased to 537 kilos as compared to 255 kilos of gold, including alluvial production in the previous year. Next slide, you can see the effect of gold rising gold prices on the sales volume. So you can see that the amount of gold, kilos of gold sold every month, and average realized price per month. So both increased in production volumes as well as rising gold price, ending up to increasing in EBITDA margin and cash flow, which was produced by the company during the reporting period. But we will talk about it in more details later on. Volume of mining works in first half of 2020 was slightly less than in previous year because we had very substantial stockpile at the end of the year, and we had enough ore for feeding the plant through January to March, so we were not rushing with the mining of ore in first half, rather spending Q1 on leveling the pit and catching up with stripping. Total amount of ore processed on the CIL plant, as I mentioned before, amounted to 196,000 tons of ore with average grade of 2.87. So we totally supplied 561 kilos of gold in ore on the plant and produced 551, making up the recovery of more than 92%. Stockpile at the end of the year, at the end of the June, amounts to 64,000 tons of ore, which is enough to supply for more than 1.5 months of production, with average grade of 1.95. Gold sales amounted to 537 as compared to 255 last year, 111% increase. But please keep in mind that in 255 kilos of gold sold last year. 27 were produced on Salcocon as alluvial. Average gold price increased by 25%. Average for the half of the year is 1,648 dollars per ounce. Our average cash cost in the first half was less than 600, which give us a margin of more than 1,000, almost $1,100 per ounce produced. Dollars per ounce produced. First half of 2020, the company reached record high level of EBITDA and record high level of gold production, which both of these indicators were strongest ever, which you can very clearly see on the graph. It was both results of increased gold price and increased efficiency of production on the newly built plant. Net profit after tax amounted to $8.6 million compared to net loss after tax of $2 million in the previous year. Gold sales for first half of the year amounted to $28.4 million, cost of an increase of 164% as compared to last year. And if we compare just hard rock gold sales, increase will be even higher, 183%, 28 million versus 10 million in the previous year. Cost of sales increased by 30%. It was 10.6 million last year as compared to 13.9 in the current year. Increase came from mostly two components. One is the cash expenses, which is quite obviously results of higher gold production, and in particular higher volume of ore processed on the CIL plant, as well as increased depreciation and amortization, which is a result of plant commissioning and the fact that we started amortized newly commissioned asset. General and administrative expenses were flat year on year, almost no increase, which is a result I'm very proud of. We managed to keep a decrease and keep flat general and administrative expenses for over 5 years already in a row. Financial expenses increased by 50%, mostly as a result of increased interest rate on the bond, which is due to Golden Impala, which is a related party of the company. EBITDA in the first half amounted to $16.7 million, and quarter two contributed to 7.2 out of 16. An increase in EBITDA margin is dramatic. It's more than 10 times. You can see the biggest contributor in the growing EBITDA was increase in the increase in volumes of production, which is results of higher efficiency of new technology, as well as rising gold price added almost 5.7 million to the EBITDA, which was partially offset by change in the stripping volumes and work in progress, as well as quite obviously increase in production costs. As we have seen before, we managed to produce historically high net cash flow from operating activities in the amount of $14.7 million US. It's 50% margin as compared to the sales volume. Sales volume is 28 and 14.7 is operating cash flow. So it's more than 50% of the sales revenue. This cash flows from operating activities we were using to pay off remainders of the debt which we had at the end of the year for a CIL plant. We also paid 8 million to the bank, and we also fully extinguished of short-term loan from the related party, from Golden Impala. In July 2020, we paid another 2.6 million to VTB, which is our main banking finance provider, and we fully extinguished our shorter term loans, which we were raising from VTB in 2018 and 19 in order to finance CIO construction. At the end of July, our outstanding debt to VTB amounted to $30 million, which is a 15 million decrease as compared to what we had 3 years ago. I think it's a great achievement. So that's where we are with our figures. I'm happy to say that we will commission substantial funds this year for expanding our exploration activities on Tardan and Salcocon. We already contracted 7,000 meters of core drilling at Tardan. Subcontractor is already on site and is working. And we also contracted 10,000 meters of core drilling at Salcocon. Contractor will start drilling in September, and we expect that before the end of the year, 10,000 meters will be drilled. We are considering even further extending volumes of drilling and contracting another 7,000 meters on Tardan and another 10,000 meters in Salcocon, bringing up total volumes of core drilling up to 35 meters of core drilling this year, which will allow us a substantially complete drilling program on Salcocon by mid-April next year, as well as substantially complete the drilling program at Tardan and the Greater Tardan by the same period. We hope to allocate these drilling meters at Tardan on most promising areas, namely by Suit, which has mentioned a few times before, and also increasing the quality of resources on Sorokhem, on ozone number 15 and on ozone number 6. Hopefully to increase life of mine even further. We also restarted engineering studies at KB. Our contractor is already on site and already working. We expect that engineering studies on site will continue until the end of October, mid-November, and the engineering studies will give us a good ground for starting actual design and engineering of the mine. And we will obtain substantial amount of engineering information for durability and safety of construction work on site, as well as during the over-the-road heading to KB. We also engaged with EMC Mining, which is an engineering company which helped us to successfully build new plant on Tardan. And the purpose of the engagement is to give us a better understanding of capex, which we are going to incur on KB, and better understanding of technology which is going to be used. It's not a matter of choosing technology. We already know which technology is going to be used, but it's rather a matter of choosing the proper equipment, obtaining commercials from suppliers, and having a clear understanding what's going to be the cost of the mine and how we will approach building of this new asset. That's it. I think it's very good results for the first half. Very promising allocation of cash for our future. I will be happy to answer your questions. I already see the first one coming. Hello, thank you for presentation and congratulations for excellent results. How the company came through the COVID situation? What were the main challenges? What about additional spending? We put out a press release in May, if I'm not mistaken. May or early June, that about 20 employees in the mine were tested positively for the COVID. Currently, all of them are released from hospitals, and I must admit that none of them had any clinical symptoms, or none of them was suffering a lot from COVID. They were rather infected than actually sick, and all of them are already back to work on the mine, and we are happy that everyone is okay. Currently, we deployed the rules which we believe help us to minimize chances for having more cases of COVID on the mine. However, there is no guarantee that it won't happen, because we are all in uncharted waters. What those rules which we apply are that is a limiting of visits from the strangers. So no strangers are admitted to the mine. When we change the shift, everyone who comes on the shift must come with valid certificate that they are COVID-free. And we check the temperature and symptoms of respiratory diseases on the mine on a daily basis. So we believe that these measures will give us a substantial, let's say, surety that we minimize risk that we will have a massive infection on the mine. However, nobody knows. Again, it's uncharted waters, and it's very difficult to give any certain prediction on that subject. Next question. Have you gotten approval for the tax exemption included in region investment project, and have you just applied for them? There is no process of approval which is written in the tax code. Tax code says that once we satisfy certain conditions, which we believe we have satisfied, the company files tax declaration and applies the tax exemptions. That's what we did in the first half. Tax authorities can check this declaration, tax returns, and come up with their finding if they disagree. We already filed 6 tax returns for royalty tax. It's mineral extraction tax, which is 6% of the revenue. So far, tax authorities have not yet came up with any indications that they are not happy or disagree with the approach which we apply. However, we can only be certain, let's say 100% certain, once we will pass the tax check and have a formal decision in the due course, formal decision that the tax check is passed. But at the moment, we believe that we satisfy all the conditions which are set in tax code, and we certainly qualify for this tax exempt. How you will finance KB? Well, I didn't change my opinion, and I still believe that company needs more equity for being able to finance KB. Yes, increasing prices makes bigger room for maneuver for us, but it doesn't change the picture 100%. Still, bank will require our own, let's say, capital injection in the project of at least 30% of the total capex, which means that we need to come up with approximately 30 million US in the project, our own, if we wish to succeed with raising another 70 from the bank, which I'm very much certain about. But 30 million, yes, we can come up with funds from our operational cash flow, but still, I can hardly imagine that we'll free up 30 million in a in relatively short period of time to invest them in KD. I still believe that company needs more equity, and I very much share position of analysts from Edison and from Mangold, which in their models we're assuming us as a company making fundraise. But from other hand, the good news is that at the moment, which we are much better positioned for making a fundraise than it used to have before. Another question: have you relaunched the exploration operations? You said the company may invest about 1 million this year. Is it still on the schedule? Yes, we relaunched exploration on both Salcacon and Tardan. As I said before, we already contracted 7,000 meters of core drilling on Tardan, aiming to increase quality of resources, as well as explore for some promising prospects. We have also and the contractor which we contracted with is already on site and is already drilling. We also contracted 10,000 meters on Salcacon. Contractor will get on site on first 10 days of September, basically within 2 weeks, and within 2 weeks they will deploy their drilling rigs. They will use 2 drilling rigs at the same time. So we believe that we will be able to drill this 10,000 meters on Salcacon until end of November, mid-December. We are currently consider with the board our ability to further increase exploration spending this year and contract another 7,000 meters on Tardan. So in total, it's going to be 14,000 meters of core drilling and another 10,000 meters on Salcacon. So it's going to be 20,000 meters on Salcacon, and total number of meters which hopefully we will contract will reach 34,000 meters, which is going to be a record high number of exploration ever in the history of the company. Total cost of that program will be slightly about 3 million US. And we expect that deploying 2 drilling rigs on Salcacon and 1 drilling rig on Tardan, we will be able to finish the whole work by mid-April. Then, of course, we will need more time to evaluate results and making out the models, but by mid-April, we will be substantially completed. What is the time plan for a fundraise share issue? What's the time plan for KB considering the successful fundraise share issue? There is no specific time plan. It is my view that the company needs more equity. It's a forecast, right? It's not a decision which has already been taken or already was considered by the board. There is no decision on that question in the moment, and decision is totally up to the board. I cannot speak on behalf of the board saying when or even if this decision will be taken. Time plan for KB stays unchanged. We discussed a number of times on our calls. I truly believe that we will be able to finish construction within 4 years since day one, and day one being the funds available for starting the whole process. These are all questions which I see now in the chart. Let's wait for another 2 minutes for more questions coming, if any. And then if no questions come, Then we will end up the session. Thank you. I see no more questions coming. And so there is another one. When the company become cash flow positive? Well, quite obviously, it is already cash flow positive at the moment. If you will look at slide number 10, you will see that we are cash positive at the moment. Cash flows from operating activities is 14.6 million. Yes, it's 14.6 million. And there's a record high level of cash flows for the first half of the year. If you will refer to slide number 6, yes, this one, and you will look at details on the right graph. You can see that in its whole history, let's say since 2016, let's put it this way, since 2016, the company has never ended in the first half of the year, first 6 months, which were, as you remember, which were most difficult time of the year over the Heaplish period. We have never ever ended with negative operating cash flow. We always managed to keep it up on a positive, even in those years when we cut production. And this year, you can see that it's record high. I see no more questions coming. Thank you very much for. Oh, another question. Do you plan to continue reducing loan in 2020? Yes, we will, quite certainly. We'll use our cash flows for paying off as much debt as we can, at the same time keeping enough cash to finance exploration activity. We didn't spend enough for exploration for, let's say, 3 years in a row, and we must catch up with exploration. And I truly believe that we must do this 34,000 meters. So yes, we will use the cash flow to further extinguish debt ahead of the schedule, and subject to we live with enough funds to pay off, to pay for exploration, which is priority number one for second half of the year and the first half of 2021. Another question: how far in the future can we see payout to shareholders? There's probably a way too long forward-looking statement for me to discuss it today. I hope that it will happen soon, but on the other hand, if I truly believe that the company has very promising assets, which over a period of time will bring higher value to the shareholders. And I would see the highest priority of the company being the further investments, future investments in KB and Saltochrome. With the current gold price, which again, it's my personal belief, I think it's going to be, it is not a just short-term fluctuation, it's rather a reflection of more, as the fundamental processes behind the whole international economics. We will, and I truly believe that we will see this higher gold price for a relatively long period of time. And I think we need to utilize that window of opportunity to invest in in projects which we really have, we must start mastering them and being and becoming finally a gold producer with total volume of production of 4.5 tons per annum, as we mentioned a few times. It's now it's best window of opportunity for us we could ever dream about. Uh, and in my view, the best way of using money is to use our expertise in building mines and making it happen and build another one. If you know that you need future loans, why pay off existing loans now? I'm not sure I understand this question in its entirety. Each loans are attached to a specific asset, right? If we will make more loans attached to KB, then the bank will expect paying off his loans out of KB's cash flows. Current loans are attached to Tardan, and currently bank is expecting um, Tardan paying off its debt. Yes, we can negotiate changing of schedule, and we recently announced that we really rolled over the repayment schedule for another year, but we cannot expect that the bank will say us, okay, current loans, I will wait until you will pay your current loans in 5 years from KB. It's not going to happen. From bank's point of view, it's not our cash flow. If they roll over the debt and saving us the cash flow, it's not like purely company's cash flow, right? Because it is originated from the fact that the bank does not require repayment. The bank, the finance provider, will build up their position without us investing real equity. So it's not going to happen. So question at the moment. Let's wait another 30 seconds, and if nobody will come with more questions, that will going to be the end of our session. Another good news is that today we have a record high number of participants in the conference. It's very much encouraging speaking to 40 people rather than 4 people, and I hope that our audience will grow further as together in line with our results. So I see no more questions coming. Thank you very much, and have a good day, everyone. Thank you.